strap me into my seat so that I don't
stressed.
jump out the window at Quantico.
Oh, baby! Richmond, Virginia, what is good?
It is a delight to be here in your lovely city, in your lovely state. I have never been to Richmond before, and now I have experienced the sights of Richmond, such as the Amtrak station and the walk to here from the Amtrak station. Though I have not seen a lot of Richmond, the train ride that Johnny and I took, oh, spoiler alert for who our guest is, the train ride that we took today was absolutely delightful, filled with incredibly great vibes. So we're gonna ride those great vibes into the show. Let's get into the guest introduction. I already spoiled it. Make some noise for tonight's guest, Johnny Frohlichstein! All righty, hello. Thank you.
Heard you spoiled who the guest was going to be, even though it's all over the Instagram.
It's all over the branding and the marketing and everything. Yeah. You enjoyed the train ride as well, yeah?
Oh, it was a lovely train ride, and I'm obsessed with the 4 minutes walking of Richmond that I've seen in my life.
The 4 minutes did include us getting off of the Amtrak, getting out of the station, seeing a place that makes homemade oatmeal cream pies, buying a half dozen of them, being very excited about it, and then coming here.
Yeah, it was like, I think we died, and we're in heaven now.
This is the first thing we saw after leaving the train station. We're like, perfect, is this? Oh, but then also there was a dude doing like a wheelie on an ATV down the street.
Yeah.
Vibes immediately fantastic in Richmond.
That's their thing. They do wheelies on ATVs.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Known
but
for that.
The train ride itself had elite vibes because we had really solid bagel sandwiches to start. I found you in the Amtrak station without having to call or text you like a meet cute in a rom-com. Got on the train, had a perfect setup in terms of like I finished up my work, you finished up a book you were reading. Then we played a game of chess on a travel chess set that Kelly got me as a gift way back. And it was a super intense game that had commentary from the Amtrak guy. He would walk by in the beginning of the game. I was in a bad position, and he walked and he goes, "You look a little overextended." I thought he was saying that because I had a bag in another seat because it was by the time we got out of DC.
Yeah, you were like,
It was
"Oh, I'm
no
sorry."
one on
And
the
he was
train.
like, "No."
He was like, no, your pawn is in a bad position. I was like, I know, I'm stressed about it actively. But then he kept coming back. I slowly clawed back. It was a super intense game of chess that ended in a draw. We shook hands over it. We double checked on a chess computer afterwards to make sure that we should have called it a draw. And we did. The analysis said the score was 0.00, so it was a perfect draw. Amazing vibes. We're ready to do the show, yeah?
My favorite part, though, of the train ride was there was this woman who was like, "Where are you going?" And this was after everyone got off at DC.
How could I have forgotten this
And we were
woman?
like, "Oh, we're going to Richmond. What about you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to Woodbridge." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Where's Woodbridge?" And she was like, "Virginia."
Now, the key thing about this woman saying that Woodbridge was in Virginia is I was getting something out of my bag far enough away from the conversation where I don't think she heard me. But when Johnny asked, "Where's Woodbridge?" I said, "Virginia," as a joke. At the same time that this woman said, "Virginia," as an answer.
Yeah. Where did she tell us not to get off? Fort, never mind.
No. She told us, because she asked where we're going, and we said that we're going to Richmond, the end of the line. And then she said, don't get off at...
Oh, I forgot.
It had a Marine base.
Yeah, she was like, "Don't get off at Quantico."
And I asked, what's wrong with Quantico? And I don't remember what she said. She just said like it was bad and it's run down. And then Quantico was like an hour and 40 minutes away from Richmond. And we were on the Richmond-bound line. So I don't know what on earth or in hell would possess us to get off an hour and 40 minutes early to go to a town that neither of us have ever heard of.
It's just
but
that
she
bad.
like multiple times was like, do not go to Quantico. I don't know if anyone traveled here from Dante's Inferno's seventh ring of the underworld, but we're glad you made it to the show. In this act of the show, we're going to be doing the newest Olympian. We're going to be doing 2 incredibly intense chapters from Frank's perspective. And they're so intense that I think we should just get right into them. I've already asked you all the questions that need to be asked. So let's get into chapter 35, which is called Frank, where we last left our heroes. We had Frank having a conversation with his father, Mars, and then being alluded to the fact that the next morning he was going to have a conversation with his grandmother. And that is where we kick things off. The opening of this chapter is, quote, "One look out the window, and Frank knew he was in trouble because of all of the Laestrygonian giants that are there ready to eat him, but I trust that everything's going to be okay at this point, and we'll see how everything goes."
Well, we just had some exposition, so I imagine an action scene's coming up.
Yep, for sure. So he sees Laestrygonians stacking cannonballs at the edge of the yard, and some of them have clubs and spears, some of them have surfboards, which is a fun vibe. All of them are in very good spirits, all of them are very ready to eat. Some of them even have bibs with forks and knives, which is a great visual. One guy even says something out loud about meat being back on the menu, boys. I wish. But Frank...
Wait, hang on. So everyone complains about that line because they're like, there were no menus back then. But like, they had inns, right? They had restaurants. Like, there were totally menus in Middle-earth.
You are asking the wrong person about Lord of the Rings, because all I will be able to tell you is that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe in that one scene, and that Legolas skateboards in that other scene. And, oh no, I do actually know a fun fact, because we went on a tour in New Zealand. The way that they did the Orokai army chanting is Peter Jackson went to a Australia versus New Zealand rugby game, and during halftime put up like phonetic what the chants are, and then got like 50,000 plus really rabid Australia and New Zealand rugby fans to chant the words, and then they recorded that, and that's the Orokai army chant in Lord of the Rings.
Sick. So
Super
this was
cool.
the first episode of whatever you call your Lord of the Rings podcast where you talk about everything that you already knew.
I feel like I came up with a name. All I know is that it's not Ringless, because that's not how I name my podcasts.
You should have done this one Percy list.
Oh,
like,
God damn it! Ugh. Oh, no, yeah, LotR list. Thank you. Yeah. That's a joke I made 7 years ago. Time. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So, Frank thinks that it would be a funny scene to watch if that the meat on the menu wasn't him, but unfortunately he is on the menu, boys. So he's not looking forward to this situation that they are looking forward to. Frank's grandmother tells Frank that she sent the rest of the team to the attic and they can all regroup there. Frank is shocked because he was always forbidden from entering the attic, and Grandma explains that the reasoning is that that's where they store weapons. So yeah, makes sense as to why they would keep him out. But she says this isn't the first time that their family was attacked by monsters. And I love Grandma's vibe here, just initially. And I feel like if they were doing a casting of this, like, in my brain, I was just seeing like a Michelle Yeoh vibe of, I feel like she would hit
elite
this kind
casting.
of level. Maybe it's because I was fresh off of watching Wicked the movie, but like, I just feel like...
You know
she
what
could
was
rock
not an elite casting?
What?
Michelle Yeoh and Wicked the movie.
Every part where she didn't have to sing was good. Unfortunately, it is a movie musical. She was fine, but yeah, the singing was not really singing. It's my brand of singing, where I could do like talk singing. I was destined to be Biff. Who's the leader of the Jets in West Side Story? The leader of the Jets in West Side Story?
That's not Bach. Bach's in Wicked.
I'm not talking about Wicked anymore. There's a different play called West Side Story. Who's the... Riff. Thank you, not Biff. That's a guy from Back to the Future.
Also different.
My destiny was to be Riff from West Side Story,
Biff.
because he doesn't have... No.
Bach.
Stop. He doesn't actually sing. He just like extended talking. That's the farthest that I can get
When
towards
you're
singing.
a jet, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Anyway, we love you, Michelle. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Frank does what I would call a bad use of sarcasm, because he goes, weapons. Right. I've never handled weapons before. Grandma didn't say anything about this. This is like out of left field. Like, this is not the proper use of sarcasm. Like, you would do this if she implied that you've never used them before. But he's just like not doing a good job of it. Grandma is proud of him for using sarcasm. I am not proud, because there's a poor use of sarcasm.
Completely agree. He's getting graded on the grandma curve.
Now, Grandma, in a classic Grandma move, tells Frank that he must eat first and directs him towards poached eggs and bacon on toast in the kitchen, which is his favorite breakfast. He begins to ask if Grandma made it, and she said that no. And she also says that it wasn't the staff. They're not around. They're gone for safety. And she reveals that Hazel did it. Hazel made this breakfast. I don't know if Hazel went out of the way to ask what's Frank's favorite breakfast, or if she just like nailed it accidentally. But regardless, that's impressive. Poached eggs? Not easy.
Speaking of rom-coms, when somebody makes you breakfast, that implies something very different than from what's going on here.
Is that like a...
Like you stayed over and you're having breakfast together.
Oh. Okay, yeah. I mean, I believe in this quote, Grandma says your girlfriend did it. And
That's
that
right,
becomes a
that's
thing
right,
later,
that's right.
So she's on that level. And we also learned from Grandma that Hazel was the one who brought the blanket and the pillow to Frank because he woke up with that. He didn't go to sleep with that. I thought that Mars did it. You'll hear this in the episode when it comes
Good night, sweet prince.
I thought like Mars was being so wonderful and so un-Aries-like in that chapter. I was like, look how sweet he is. He even went and got him a pillow and a blanket. So, no, he does lose some cool points, but I still think he was cool in that conversation. Now, also, Hazel picked out fresh clothes for Frank to wear, and Frank's grandma suggests that he shower because he smells like burning horsehair, and we all know what that smells like. Frank is floored because he thought that he torched any chance with Hazel after summoning Gray, the big skeleton dude, and here's my thought. Her father is Pluto, Lord of the Underworld. If she did not think raising a skeleton from the underworld was maybe even cool, but like at least an impressive feat, that just wouldn't make any sense at all. Like, this is the perfect person to not scare away with raising a skeleton from the ground.
I had the same thought. This is Frank just looking for excuses for reasons that he's going to fail at this, so that, like, if she eventually does decide not to go for him, he can be like, oh, it's that dang skeleton I summoned, right?
I think Frank is always too hard on himself, and he does it in these chapters. So I think he's just overly worried. Like, no, man, she's going to think this is totally fine. This is the perfect person.
Kind of her dad's whole deal.
I feel like if Kelly made a three-pointer and then was like, oh, no, Mike might think I'm weird. So Grandma had called Hazel's girlfriend earlier, so of course Frank has to be a teenage boy and say, oh, she's not my girlfriend. And Grandma says, well, she should be, you dolt. I love the use of dolt. Dolt is great. It's a classic. Joel P. would call that to people driving when they were being mean, and he had to say a PG thing. Like, he was probably going to call them a different curse word that starts with a D, and he hard pivoted into dolt. Dolt was a good one.
Dolt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, Grandma says that Frank should not let her go because clearly Frank needs strong women in his life, quote, if you haven't noticed. Frank then eats. Grandma gives him a rundown on the situation. Even though she looks rough, she speaks firmly, so Frank feels good about talking with her here. She says that the ogres have been here for 3 days waiting for Frank. Quote, they want to cook you and eat you, which is ridiculous. You'd taste terrible. And Frank just replies, thank you, grandmother.
I just want to like call out that we're in like a reverse Shrek situation here with the ogres surrounding the swamp/house instead of the ogre being surrounded within the swamp/house. And so anything that the Laestrygonians said in this chapter, I read in Mike Myers' voice.
Who is Donkey in this reverse Shrek situation? Is it Frank?
No, I think it would be if all of the Laestrygonians had like little minions, right? Because there would be a million donkeys in a reverse Shrek, obviously. We all know how reverse Shrek works.
Sure, yeah, we all know reverse Shrek. Grandma admits that she was excited for Frank to return so that she could see him one last time, which I think is very sweet. But then, of course, she immediately adds, quote, even if your clothes are dirty and you need a haircut, so she's sticking to her tough nature. She says that he is poorly representing the family, and Frank says, I've been a bit busy, Grandma. Grandma says that there is no excuse for sloppiness before informing Frank that the team has eaten and they are choosing weapons. Grandma told them that Frank would be right with them, and then she tells Frank that they must talk about the escape plan because fighting off all of the Laestrygonians is not in the cards. She has Frank grab a sealed envelope out of a nightstand, and she refers to all of this plan as the escape plan. She asks Frank if he recalls the airfield at the end of the park, and Frank knows where it is because Grandma used to take him there when she would have special goods chartered in via flights from China. That is the most badass way to remember something. So impressive. I don't know what Grandma's shipping in. Is it the porcelain? Is it the weapons? Whatever it is, Grandma's super duper cool.
Crazy Rich Asians 2, the son of Neptune.
Yes, yes. She says that there is a pilot standing by, ready to leave on a moment's notice. She says that he's a family friend, and the envelope is a letter asking to take Frank to Alaska.
Okay, so they showed up the day before, right, to this house. Grandma has been asleep the whole time until just now when she woke up and Frank woke up.
Yeah.
Has this pilot just been here for months, just hanging out?
I don't know. Maybe
Did
he lives-
Mars call the pilot?
Ooh, or is grandma like a true grandma and she wakes up at like 3:45 in the morning and is like, "You're wasting daylight."
She was asleep not because she was weak, but because she had just finished supper and was sleeping
It's one of
now.
my favorite things that my parents used to get upset with me sometimes because they get up pretty early and then I would wake up at like 9 or 10, like a normal time, pre-child. Now I wake up at 4 in the morning, but they'd be like, "Oh, you slept in," and be like, "It's still the AM. I'm doing all right. Yes, you've been up for 4 hours, but I'm not 63 years old. What are we doing?" Frank tries to protest this plan. Grandma is having none of it. She explains that Mars has visited the past few days, and they've discussed the quest at length, and she tells Frank to do his duty, find Death, and free him. And Frank reminds her that she would then be truly dead, and they would never see each other again. But Grandma says that she was going to die anyway, so who cares? She asks if the Praetor gave Frank his letters of introduction. Frank says yes, but he's confused. Grandma doesn't really clarify, just tells him to also give those to the pilot because he's a veteran of the Legion, and those credentials will make him honor-bound to help Frank, preventing any issues caused by this dude getting cold feet. So I love that she's like, trap this guy in a legal loophole with these papers, please. So
Then he'll for sure fly out of here.
Yeah, so that if he's a little baby, he has to get out of here no matter what.
I took issue with Frank saying that if she dies, he'll never see her again. Have you read the books, Frank? Like, there are a lot of people that die and then are seen by their loved ones later on in the books. Like, come on.
Yeah. The house then shakes as a cannonball explodes midair near a window. And initially, I was thinking, why would it explode before it hit the house? We'll learn about this later. Grandma says that they must move quickly onto other matters, namely Frank's powers. She says that she hopes that Frank has figured them out. And Frank replies, Narrator Frank says, quote, "Grandmother muttered some curses in rapid-fire Mandarin." And then she asks, "Have you learned nothing?" And Frank yells, "Yes," but he meant no. Because he is able to rattle off some information. It's the gift of Periclamenus, son of Poseidon. But he says, son of Poseidon, I mean son of Neptune, I mean the sea god, which is kind of like how I feel when they're doing the Greek and Roman in these books. Grandma clarifies that he was the grandson of Poseidon, but close enough. She asks how he learned this, and Frank explains the whole Phineas thing. Phineas told him that his great-grandpa, Shen Lun, is blamed for the 1906 San Francisco earthquake that also wrecked the original location of Camp Jupiter, and Grandma tells him to go on. Frank says that at camp, they blame him because Neptune is the god of earthquakes, but Frank doesn't believe that because he doesn't believe that their power is earthquakes. He thinks it's something else. And I was like, oh, right, he does have a guess that he was afraid to voice. Me, for context, I think I don't know, this might be in the episode that comes out tomorrow or the one that just came out. At this point in time, and I have proof via this podcast that I think he can turn into various animals and stuff.
Sure.
And we'll see. Look, I got receipts, and it's called The Noose Olympian with Mike Schubert. It's a very good podcast everyone should listen to.
I'll believe you tomorrow.
So Grandma confirms that that is not the gift, and she confirms that he was blamed. Quote, "He was unpopular as a descendant of Neptune. He was unpopular because his real gift was much stranger than causing earthquakes, and he was unpopular because he was Chinese. A Chinese boy had never before claimed Roman blood, an ugly truth, but there is no denying it. He was falsely accused, forced out in shame." And I think this is an interesting development for Rick to bring in. I like that this book is not shying away from tough subjects, and if you're going to have characters that you are very explicitly making diverse and making their diversity a plot point in the story, to not shy away from these kind of tough conversations, I think is good. So I like that he brought it in.
Well, and this is, I think I told you on the train that Frank's my favorite of the 7 because I think that for so much of these books, the characters are very like singular in their identities, right? Like Percy is like Poseidon and, Annabeth's Athena and whatever. And I love that with Frank, it's a little more intersectional. I don't know. He's just, I think, much more nuanced than the rest of the characters, which is not to say that I don't love them too, but I just love the complexity here, yeah.
No, I think it's great, and I like the way that it is handled by all of the characters here. Frank wonders why then Grandma would have asked Frank to apologize to Raina about his great-grandfather if she believes he was innocent. And Grandma blushes and says that apologizing for something you didn't do is better than dying for that same thing. So yeah, I think that's legit.
Stick to your guns, Grandma. Come on, don't apologize for something you didn't do.
She was worried that the camp would blame him by proxy happy because she was unsure if the prejudice against them lessened. Narrator Frank lets us know that Frank has been teased in school and in public, but not too often, and never at Camp Jupiter. So that makes me feel good about Camp Jupiter, that it is washed away. He only got made fun of at Camp Jupiter for being a klutz, so valid. He cannot imagine what his grandpa went through, going through all of this sort of rough treatment for something that he didn't do. Grandma asks Frank if he has determined what the family gift actually is, and the narrator Frank says, quote, his mother's old story swirled in Frank's head, fighting like a swarm of bees. He was the greatest dragon of all. He remembered his mother's appearing next to him in the backyard, as if she'd flown from the attic. He remembered her coming out of the woods, saying that she'd given a mama grizzly bear directions. And then he finally replies that his mom often told him that he could be anything. And Grandma says, quote, finally, a dim light goes on in that head of yours. She explains that Frank's mother was not simply boosting his self-esteem, she was telling him the literal truth, and I was very excited that I was correct. And then another explosion shakes the house, and Frank asks, anything? And Grandma clarifies, within reason. And I wrote in my notes, define reason! And then she does literally on the next line. She says that it must be living things, and it helps if you know this living thing well. It also helps to be in a life or death situation like combat. This feels very much like if you're playing D&D and it's like a combat-only spell. So I was sad. I was like, oh, man, Frank just can't be like walking around and be like, oh, grizzly bear, like, oh, snake, ooh, oh, yeah, ooh, fish, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I think it's giving Muhammad Ali, who said famously that he can float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Do you think Muhammad Ali
Was a demigod and had this gift? Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, he's a descendant of Pericleminus as well. Yeah, for sure. Grandma asks Frank why he looks so uneasy learning this news. She says, you know, you've always been uncomfortable in your own body. That happens for all of us. We all feel uncomfortable in it. I was like, oh, an interesting twist. Okay. Apparently, this gift was only given to mortals once, making them unique amongst demigods. She says that Poseidon, and I was like, why didn't she call him Neptune? It doesn't matter. She says that Poseidon must have been feeling especially generous or spiteful when he gave the gift because it often feels like a curse. She explains that it didn't save Frank's mother, so how good could this really be? But then the ogres outside start chanting, Zhang, Zhang, Zhang. And Grandma tells him to go. Frank doesn't want to because he doesn't know how to use the power yet. And Grandma says, quote, you can, or you will not survive to realize your destiny. Not helping, Grandma. Tell me what to do. Give me some tips, please. Some pointers would go very far right now. She says that she doesn't like the prophecy of the 7 because 7 is an unlucky number in Chinese. It's a ghost number. And me, as someone who's already not feeling great about Frank's chances of surviving in this book series, I'm like, 7, bad luck. Ghost number, is Frank gonna die? I don't feel good about it. I'm not feeling great. And I'm looking down and at no one's face so that no trapdoors, which I've installed in every single chair in the venue, become activated.
Well, I was gonna say, here's the thing about that prediction, right, is that it's a prediction.
It is a prediction. Your trapdoor stays intact. Someone on the subreddit recently asked, where does the trapdoor go?
The obvious answer, Tartarus.
Oh, yeah. I think it would just kind of go to a room where I have prepared a video on, like a projector screen of sorts, where I'm like, this is my job. You are making my job harder and worse. You're also ruining a podcast for tens of thousands of people. I would just give them the, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed kind of.
Very like Mr. Milchick from Severance energy, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we can't talk about this because I love that show so much that we will not do anything else.
Severance podcast right now.
Oh, God. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Grandma admits there's nothing that they can really do about this unlucky number prophecy. She says that Frank must go because the Feast of Fortuna is tomorrow night, so they have no time to waste. She tells Frank, don't worry about me. I will pass my own way on my own terms. But she doesn't plan on being eaten by the ogres. She then yells, go! So Frank bows to his grandma, thanks her, and says that he will make her proud before leaving. Narrator Frank then says, quote, she muttered something under her breath. Frank almost thought she had said, you have. Oh, I was choked up on the Amtrak. It was so good. Teardrops on my laptop. But Frank is absolutely gobsmacked at this. And then Grandma's face turns stern, and she tells him to stop gaping, to shower, and to get dressed and to fix his hair. Quote, my last image of you, and you show me messy hair. So I like that she has to try to act like she's not being super sentimental in this moment.
Well, yeah, Frank's last image of her also can't be the sentimental one, right? It has to be the, No nonsense.
Of course. So he pats down his hair, he bows again, and the narrator Frank says, quote, his last image of grandmother was of her glaring out the window as if thinking about the terrible scolding she would give the ogres when they invaded her home. So that's the end of chapter 35, which I have retitled, I Can Be Anything, in parentheses, Within Reason. Do you have a retitling of chapter 35?
Oh, I didn't think about this one. No, I like yours.
Cool. Let's get into chapter 36, which is great. It's a really fun one. You said potentially the best chapter in the book. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Let's get into it. It opens with, quote, Frank took the quickest possible shower, put on the clothes Hazel had set out, an olive green shirt with beige cargo pants. Really? Then grabbed his spare bow and quiver and bounded up the attic stairs. What is wrong with that outfit? It sounds perfectly normal.
Well, and I think it's also like very like army militaristic, right? Like
Sure.
it's kind of fitting his whole deal.
Right, like I wouldn't want to wear that, but I am someone who owns 4 pairs of pink pants. I'm a different boy than Frank. But Frank, who has a canonically boring haircut, why would he be upset about this boring outfit?
Yeah, no, I think it totally fits the vibe.
Is he upset about the cargo pants? He's like, too many pockets. What am I going to do with them all? I don't know what the deal
You know what they
is.
wear at Quantico? They wear.
I don't know because I've never been there and I never
Oh, you didn't
will.
get off.
I will know. I did not get off the train an hour and 40 minutes early.
Tomorrow we got to make sure we don't get off on the way back.
Oh my
to
God.
New York.
Strap me into my seat
already
so that I don't
stressed.
jump out the window at Quantico.
All those olive green shirt wearing folks.
Now, the attic is stocked almost as much as the Camp Jupiter armory. There is a scorpion bow mounted on the back window. This is the 3rd time we've had scorpion bows mounted on something. Did Uncle Rick lose a bet? I'm not sure, but that's mounted there. And then there's a machine gun looking thing with big barrels on it at the front window. And Frank out loud wonders if it's a machine gun. And Ella corrects him by saying potato. So initially, my
Potato.
thought is, of course, my thought was potato gun?
Potato gun.
I knew you were gonna. Yep. Frank asks Ella where Hazel and Percy are, and she says the roof. Frank looks out the window at the rowdy giants and mutters, they have cannonballs, and we have a potato gun. Ella says that starch is bad for ogres, so that's a good sign. She seems to know a lot. We'll see about this later. Frank wants to go to the roof to talk to the others, but he doesn't want to just leave Ella alone. So he says to her that staying here isn't safe, and then he asks her if she would like to join them in Alaska. In response to this, she says, quote, Alaska, 626,425 square miles, state mammal, the moose.
My queen.
Now,
I love her so much.
In previous episodes, I had said I wasn't super big on Ella, and you and I talking, you were like, do you love Ella? And I was like, I frankly find her a little annoying. I enjoy fun fact rattling rather than spewing off words that are kind of similar to the words that were said. Like, I don't need disambiguation. She's like the top of Wikipedia. Like, did you mean this? Like, she's saying other things that aren't the thing. But fun facts, I'm always here for fun facts.
When I read those sentences from Ella, I'm just like, oh, that's my stupid little brain making these like nonsense associations.
Yeah.
Oh, I love her.
For me, as someone who has to take rigorous notes, I go, I'm reading sentences like, does this matter? This doesn't matter. I didn't need to write anything. Why did I waste time reading and thinking about this? Anyway, yeah, so I just want to move on. So I think it's a special thing why I didn't like her initially. This chapter, it has changed me.
It's also like literally on my bucket list to go on Jeopardy. I want to go on Jeopardy so bad, and Ella just helps me with that. Now I know that the state mammal of Alaska is the moose. So like,
How would you draw your name in a cool, fun way on the Jeopardy
I would just draw
thing?
the S, which there's no S in my name, but you know what I'm talking about? The cool S that everyone drew in
Oh,
elementary
yeah.
school. I would just draw that.
So you're Prince. You go by
Yeah.
a symbol. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah. No one know how to say your name, but they
Right,
will know
it's Johnny,
that
obviously.
you rip. Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
character.
So anyway, Percy Jackson. Now, what gets super exciting afterwards? Ella, after my own heart, starts speaking Latin, and her Latin seems to be a prophecy. She says, quote, "To the north, beyond the gods, lies the legion's crown. Falling from ice, the son of Neptune shall drown." But then she says that the rest is burned. Frank asks if that was a prophecy and where she read that, and she then just says moose 4 times.
Which, as we know now, is the state mammal of Alaska.
Correct.
And in 4 years, when I'm on that Jeopardy stage with my favorite person in the world, Ken Jennings, I will know that the state mammal of Alaska is a moose. So, thank you, Ella.
Do they
my
have
queen.
a state animal that's not a mammal? Like, is there a state animal and then a separate state mammal? Oh, state bird. Okay.
But is there a state animal, and do they have to choose between the state mammal and the state bird, and would it be a third animal?
I don't know.
I really don't care.
I don't care either. I'm not even. I don't care enough to Google it. We're gonna continue on, but someone from Alaska will be like, "I'm offended." Yeah. So anyway,
I'm offended.
What? Oh, boo. They're not Canadian or a Canadian stereotype. Alaska's in America.
Yeah,
I'm
indeed.
offended. So the house rumbles again from an explosion, and the ogres beckon for Frank to show himself. Ella advises against doing so, and Frank tells Ella to stay here while he consults with Hazel and Percy. So Frank enters the roof, and as he does so, Percy Jackson, the coolest person on earth, goes, "Morning, beautiful day, huh?" God. I missed my boy. It's so good to have him back. Oh, he's perfect. He's perfect. Narrator Frank tells us that Percy's still wearing his purple shirt. And I was like, it's so wrong. No, it's the wrong color. His clothes are washed, though. He's got a sword in one hand and a garden hose in the other. And at first I was like, why does he have a... Oh, right, his dad's Poseidon. Yeah. He's
Neptune.
Percy Jackson.
The lad of
The lad of
Poseidon.
Neptune. Yeah. Frank is unsure why there's a garden hose on the roof, and I'm thinking it's because Chiron put it there to get us through this chapter. But then I also realized, that's why the cannonballs are exploding in midair. Percy's blasting them with water.
So sick.
Super sick.
In the Son of Neptune video game, this level will be so fun.
Yeah, especially in the VR component where you're looking around and you're trying to blast with the water and then you run into the lamp.
And it's stupid because VR is stupid. Yeah.
Now, Frank recalls that his family has ties to Poseidon, and perhaps, come on, you bought tickets to this, you know what you're gonna get. Perhaps the rooftop hose was for a previous defense. Narrator Frank then says, quote, Hazel patrolled the widow's walk between the two attic gables. And I was like, oh yeah, roofs. I know what roofs are. Those words made sense to me.
Yeah, Widow's Walk is like peak mansion speak to me. Like, over on the Widow's Walk next to the harbor.
No idea what these mean. The only things that I know about roofs are from the person that I spoke to for the episode of Modern Muckraker where we broke down the budget of East High School from High School Musical to see if it was realistic for a public school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that is an expensive roof. But
castle roofs have crenellated ramparts.
Those are the two roof things that I know. So
roof guy.
Widow's Walk, two attic gables, no idea. Alaska person, you can also email me about the roof and the mammal. Put it in there. The roof. But we're moving on. So then narrator Frank, hard turn talking about roof dynamics. It gets a little different. Quote, she looks so good. It made Frank's chest hurt. She wore jeans, a cream-colored jacket, and a white shirt that made her skin look as warm as cocoa. Her curly hair fell around her shoulders. When she came close, Frank could smell jasmine shampoo.
If Frank was like a cartoon cat, his jaw would just be on the floor.
AWOOGA! Yeah. His tongue rolls out.
Yeah.
Hazel asks Frank if he's okay, and then asks, why are you smiling? Which is great. And Frank replies, nothing. Thanks for breakfast and the clothes and not hating me. And Hazel, with the correct response, asks, why would I hate you?
You hit a three-pointer.
And Frank feels foolish, as he should, and explains he figured the summoning of Gray would be off-putting. And Hazel clarifies that, yeah, I was surprised and maybe even scared by Gray, but I was not repulsed, which is the word that Frank used.
You would be surprised and scared if Kelly hit a three.
Yeah, I would.
But you would not be repulsed.
I would be more like, how have you not done this earlier? Why have we not talked about this? Where'd you learn to hoop? Then she says, quote, the way you commanded it, so confident in everything, like, oh, by the way, guys, I have this all-powerful Spartus we can use. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't repulsed, Frank. I was impressed. I love it. I love the romance. Frank voices that he cannot believe that Hazel was impressed by him. And Percy, again, just being the coolest person ever, goes, dude, it was pretty amazing.
We love that
wingman.
Percy's like the veteran on a sports team right now, like coaching the young folks on the sports team.
He's Roy Kent. Yeah. Shout out to everyone at the Richmond show. That's why I'm wearing all Ted Lasso colors, because Richmond. Yeah. Frank checks. Thank you. The applause for my fashion choice. Frank,
do we own that? Does like Richmond owns that it's the same name? Is that like something? No.
I think they just like that I care.
Sick. Yeah. I like that you care too.
Oh, I spend almost more time picking the clothes than any other prep for this show. Frank checks that she's being honest with him. She confirms, but says that they've other things to worry about. Hazel motions towards the ogres who are growing rowdier and rowdier. Percy says that he has one last trick up his sleeve, the sprinkler system. It'll confuse them and it'll cause some panic, but it'll wreck the water pressure so they won't get any more water hose sniping of cannonballs. That means that the cannonballs would start to destroy the house. Narrator Frank says, quote, Hazel's praise was still ringing in Frank's ears. I was like, Frank, come on, stay to subject. Ringing in Frank's ears, making it difficult to think. Dozens of ogres were camped on his lawn, waiting to tear him apart, and Frank could barely control the urge to grin. Hazel didn't hate him. She was impressed. Frank needs to make like Troy Bolton and get his head in the game. Come on, man. Get it together.
His pupils are just hearts. Like what?
Yeah, when Percy's saying stuff, it just like slowly becomes like. Yeah. So he thinks about how his grandma told him that he must figure out how to use the power, and how Mars told him that he has a role to play. Frank still cannot believe that he's Juno's secret weapon, on whom the fate of the seven depends, but he knows that Percy and Hazel are counting on him, and he must fight for them. He thinks about the piece of prophecy that Ella recited, and then he thinks of Phineas telling the team that they do not understand Ella's true value. Narrator Frank says, quote, all these puzzle pieces swirled around in Frank's mind. He got the feeling that when they finally connected, they would create a picture he didn't like. Frank tells the others about the escape plan. Hazel has concerns, mainly that Arion hasn't returned, and what about your grandma?
Horse girl.
She's
peak horse girl.
True and true.
Also, it took Frank a while to tell them what the escape plan is. Like, he shows up and they have a nice little chat about their feelings, and then he's like, by the way, like, we can get out of here. Like, I promise.
Yeah, it's funny that, like, it is something that seems like a high-stakes situation, but, like, the ogres are very patient and, like, very polite of, like, no, let us know when you're ready, and then we'll begin. But until now, we'll just occasionally throw a cannonball, even though it's not working.
They are patient and polite, unlike Shrek, which furthers my belief.
There you go. It reverse Shrek. Yeah,
Good thing they're not using onions to.
Yeah, what's the opposite of an onion?
A potato.
Ah!
Reverse Shrek.
Wow. Frank fights back tears and says that Arion may find them, and his grandma was certain about her fate and that she would be okay. He knows that that's not the full truth, but he can't really get into it. Percy then says that there's a hiccup with the plan. Air travel is not great for a son of Neptune. And I was like, still? We're not getting over this? I thought this was just a book one Zeus is mad at you plot thing. But I guess it's
for sure
all things, but it's, I guess, not bad enough. Frank says, you'll have to risk it, and so will I. By the way, we're related. And Percy goes, what? And Frank then gives the quickest recap possible. Periclymenus, ancestor on my mom's side, Argonaut, grandson of Poseidon. Hazel is shocked. And now I'm thinking, wow, cohort 5 is going to gain even more weird points because there's another descendant of Neptune in the mix. And Frank agrees that this is surprising, but then he moves on to him having a family power that he doesn't know how to use quite yet. The ogres are looking at Frank, chanting his name continually, and Hazel asks why they keep doing that. Frank doesn't explain it, which I don't understand why. How much time would it have taken just to be like, oh yeah, they think they'll get my family power that I just talked about if they eat me? Like, I don't understand why he didn't explain it.
Right. And you spent like 10 minutes talking about your feelings already. Like, you could have spared this.
Come on, man. So he then says that they must protect Ella and bring her to Alaska. Hazel says, of course, citing that Ella needs their help. But Frank adds that she also recited a prophecy about this quest. And the narrator, Frank, says, quote, he didn't want to tell Percy the bad news about a son of Neptune drowning, but he repeated the lines. And those lines are, to the north, beyond the gods, lies the legion's crown. Falling from ice, the son of Neptune shall drown. So I'm now realizing, oh, Frank is out of contention. He's not really a son of Neptune. They clarified that his descendant is a grandson of Neptune, so he might be safe, but then that would just leave Percy. But I'm pretty sure Percy's going to be okay, unless we're getting loose with the definition of drown. So maybe it's a villain, maybe it's someone else. Don't really know. Obviously, trapdoors would all be flying off, and then that would be a bad situation. So we'll just move onward.
Drowning in the feeling of being a third wheel.
So Percy's confused as to how a son of Neptune could drown. He wonders about the crown of the legions. Hazel posits that that's the eagle. And then Percy says, quote, Ella recited something like this once before in Portland, a line from the Great Prophecy. And Frank goes, the what? And Percy goes, tell you later, and then shoots a cannonball with water. He's so cool.
Cinema.
But also, Chiron has clearly gotten to him. He's not going to tell him. Chiron just smiles and nods in the distance when he feels this happening. Then the ogres clap when the explosion happens, and they go, pretty, pretty.
Pretty. I can't do it. I can't do my arms. That was devastating.
Frank says that he thinks Ella read a damaged text of prophecies. And then Hazel goes, oh, burn books of prophecy? You don't think, but that's impossible. And Percy guesses that those are the books that Octavian wanted. And I was thinking, when did he say that? And thankfully, I have a very legal PDF that I was able to consult. And there is a new merch pin at the merch table that you can go consult during intermission. But I control F for this. And there was basically a time when Percy was talking to Octavian and was asking about an oracle and stuff, and Octavian made it very clear that he's like, we need these, I really want them, but they won't approve a quest to go get them. There was another time that he brought them up. So yes, this has been brought up, but I didn't remember it. What are the books again? I feel like I wrote the name down, but then I didn't actually type it in my notes.
The Sibylline.
The Sibylline books, right. So, yes, I control F for Sibylline and then found these things. So it has been brought up. Octavian seems to want them. Because he wants them, I really don't want him to get them because I despise Octavian with every fiber of my being.
I just think it's fair that you didn't remember this immediately because these books are very long and you read like 2 chapters a week.
Yeah, when I read that, it was
a while
months ago.
I don't know that your child was born yet.
Yeah. Yes.
It was close.
Yeah, no.
But it was close.
Yeah. Was it? Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Hazel recounts that those books outline the entire destiny of Rome. And I definitely pulled a George McFly from Back to the Future, second reference of the night, where I thought it said density at first. And I was like, what is the density of Rome? And then I had to read it a second time. So then she says, if Ella has it memorized, and Frank finishes, then she's the most valuable harpy in the world. No wonder Phineas wanted to capture her. And then a bigger ogre than the rest with a lion's cape and a plastic bib with a lobster design calls Frank by full name and orders him to come down to be their honored guest. Hazel guesses that honored guest is synonymous with dinner, and Frank wishes that Mars was here to snap his battle jitters away, but then Frank thinks, Hazel believes in me. I can do this. Frank asks Percy if he can drive, and Percy says yes? Hold on. Percy is a teenage boy from New York City, specifically Manhattan. Percy Jackson should not know how to drive. I know he drives in the movie that we're all not talking about, and he does drive in the show, and he does a poor job because he doesn't know how to drive. Why does Percy Jackson know how to drive? Like, when did he learn? Because Whoa, there's clearly an answer. One person who feels very confident. Okay, yes.
He drives on the beach with Rachel.
Oh, that's the beginning of one of the, yeah.
But his memory was wiped.
Oh. Yeah, but he still remembers how to like eat food and stuff and breathe
Yeah.
and
but
walk.
Driving is not like riding a bike
Yeah.
for this kid.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So there was, okay. All right, fine.
He definitely knows how to get from Brooklyn Bridge to 42nd Street without looking at his phone because he grew up in Manhattan. So it's like,
Sure.
knows the subway like the back of his hand.
But that's, yeah, okay, fine. Valid. Shout out to Paul Bluefus. Anyway. I was going to be like, driving on the beach, that's not like driving on the road. They don't drive on a road, so he's fine. His skills translate. Okay, yep, cool, great. All right, so he asks why, and Frank says that his grandma's Cadillac, of course it's a Cadillac, perfect car brand for a grandma, is in the garage, and it's like a tank. Hazel wonders how they would break through the line of ogres, and Percy brings up the sprinkler system plan again. Frank agrees. Frank says, quote, I'll buy you as much time as I can, get Ella, and get in the car. I'll try to meet you in the garage, but don't wait for me. Percy doesn't like the sound of that, but the ogres then demand an answer and promise to spare the others. Percy says, they're lying, and Frank goes, yeah, I got that. And he tells the other two to go. Frank tries to calm himself before yelling, hey, down there, who's hungry? And yeah, narrator Frank says, quote, the ogres cheered as Frank paced along the widow's walk and waved like a rock star. Frank tried to summon his family power. He imagined himself as a fire-breathing dragon. And let's just say, this doesn't work at all. He tries, doesn't work. He has all these grandiose ideas of what he would do, just doesn't work. And then he's thinking, did I misunderstand the gift? Am I the only person in the family who didn't inherit it? Is this all some sort of cruel joke from grandma? Oh,
Which,
man.
that would be like disown your grandma level
That
cool joke.
the longest con possible. Wild. The ogres then grow displeased. The cheers then become catcalls, and some get ready to throw cannonballs, which is way worse than throwing rotten tomatoes at someone. Frank gets them to stop by saying that they wouldn't want to char him as he'd taste worse that way. So I like that he's using the key information that somehow his grandmother knows, and he's bringing this in. You don't want me to taste bad. Frank then pivots to plan B. He asks if they swear on the river Styx not to harm his friends, and then they all laugh, and someone throws a cannonball at the chimney, which breaks, and Frank goes, I'll take that as a no. Then Frank says, okay, fine, you win, I'll be right down. Wait there. And then all the ogres cheer, except for the leader, who is the one smart one, but I just love them being like, yay, and then boo, yay! Like, they're so easily swayed. Like, literally, he was like, hey, do you swear not to hurt me? And they were like, no. And then he's like, okay, fine, all right. And they're like, yay! So good, so good. Frank descends into the attic and notices Ella is missing, which he hopes is a good sign. He grabs an extra quiver of arrows called Assorted Variety, which is unhelpful for an archer, but very good for us as the reader wanting anything to possibly come out of his bow. I was very excited. I don't know how useful it is if you're like Hawkeye and you're like, oh, ooh, wee, oh, it's a Nerf arrow. Damn, like... Could be very bad, but this works out quite well. Now, it's not just the assorted variety of arrows we're dealing with. We're also dealing with Chekhov's potato gun. It's back. He shoots at the leader, and it knocks him into a pile of cannonballs, which explodes. And the narrator, Frank, says, apparently, starch was bad for ogres. So I think I have to ask Dr. Moya, is there something to the potatoes and the ogres, or is this just some sort of quirk?
Someone hasn't read the Iliad.
Nope. I think I read an excerpt of it in high school. And
Which class?
English class.
Not Latin.
No, not Latin.
Because it's in Greek.
Correct. But I don't really know much about the... Like,
Well,
I didn't retain...
Had you read it, you would know, obviously that starch is bad for ogres.
Right.
Because the potato gun scene.
Of course, yeah. Famously,
Yeah,
Odysseus crafts a potato gun.
Read a book, not
using
these.
spare parts around his garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the Latragonians are confused. Frank starts firing off arrows. Some of them explode, some of them splinter. One turns an ogre into a potted rosebush, and I'm thinking, what was this arrow? I need to know more about the arrow that turns people into potted plants. Not just a plant, but specifically a potted plant? Demeter, ooh, like...
Yeah.
I
That's
need
lovely.
to know. I
would love one of those arrows for my front yard, which doesn't look good.
Just, what would you turn into a potted plant? Your neighbors vote for Trump signs?
He took it down.
He took them down?
It's down, and this is the longest it's been down.
I guess because he won?
No. He had a Trump flag for like the last 6 years, and now it's gone.
What could Trump have
He just loves Ukraine and hates all the... I don't understand.
I would love to live in the dream world because your neighbor's awful. Like your neighbor's Wi-Fi is even like, let's go Brandon or whatever. Yeah. I would love if... Not that I want to wish ill will on anyone, but I would love if he had one of the jobs that got fired and he was like, I didn't realize. Anyway, okay.
It affects me now.
I also need to realize I'm not in Virginia. I'm in Virginia, so I should continue. Not that I think that we need to be worried at the nerd show, but
They can hear us over in Quantico.
yeah, they'll take the hour and 40-minute trend. I heard you say bad stuff. We'll be like, we're packing up. The show's been over for 35 minutes.
And we're not getting off there tomorrow.
No, we are not. Anyway, Percy Jackson. The monsters bounce back quickly and start chucking cannonballs by the dozen. Frank runs for the stairs, and as he's leaving the attic, it is destroyed behind him. And I'm hoping they were in this giant attic with tons of weapons. Did anyone take any weapons besides the little bit of arrows and the potatoes they shot? Like, someone, please tell me. Percy's like, oh, by the way, like, I grabbed, a sword and a shield. I guess he's got his sword, but I don't know. I would hope that they grabbed something useful. I don't have high hopes.
But there's always that scene in like the action comedy movie where they're like, oh, we forgot the trinket. And they're like, did we? And then the guy like, yeah.
That would be very good. Now, Frank screams for his grandmother, but the heat is too intense for him to get to her room. He works his way to the garage. The Cadillac is running. The team is inside. The garage doors are actively opening. Perfect timing. So Percy yells, get in, loser. We're going ogre hunting.
He said that.
He just says, get in. And Frank gets in the back seat next to Hazel. Hubba, hubba. Ella is in the front. What? It's come on.
Yeah. I just like the idea of Percy like taking like really sharp right turns, so he like leans into her, you know?
He is such a wingman. He's like looking in the rearview mirror every now and then to be like,
Right.
Oh, Hazel sat in the middle seat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Frank's like, if you were a pirate, would you have your parrot on this shoulder or this shoulder?
The worst version of this was one time when I was still an engineer, I was driving some of my friends home from a bar in Dallas, and it was my friend and then someone else that like worked at our company, and they were in the back seat, and I had not been hanging out with them this whole night. I had not realized that they had been getting a bit romantic this evening. So I was driving us back because we were like on a work trip. We were based out of Houston. We were in Dallas for the weekend. So we're all driving back to the same place. I was like, yeah, I'll give you guys a drive. They then proceeded to make out in the back of my car for 17 minutes. And what sucked is I am a very safe driver. I check my rearview mirror quite often. I had to constantly be reminded of this. No matter how loudly I turned up the Das Racist CD that I had in my car.
I was gonna say, what is the best music for you to turn up right
Das
now?
Racist. It was, but combination Pizza Hut Taco Bell did not stop them. But it was a rough 17-minute car ride. So at least this is not happening for our good boy Percy Jackson.
And your friends didn't even help with the ogres?
No, and they didn't even start dating afterwards. Like, if this was the beginning of it, like, sure.
Worth it, yeah.
But they, like, hooked up that night and then, like, didn't make anything else of
What
it.
a
And I was like,
bummer.
you subjected me to this for 17 minutes, and you can't even be bothered to have a second date? Or, like,
Inconsiderate.
you couldn't have waited 17 minutes to make out in your hotel room? Anyway, Percy Jackson. Now, Ella is in the front, curled up, going, yikes, yikes, yikes. Narrator Frank then says, quote, Percy gunned the engine. They shot out of the garage before it was fully open, leaving a Cadillac-shaped hole in the splintered wood, which is great. Such a good little, like, Wile E. Coyote Looney Tunes vibe. The Laestrygonians try to stop them, but Percy just yells, and I didn't realize what he was doing at first. I thought he was just going to be like, ah, and, like, to drive through them, but he yells, and then the sprinklers explode. I was like, oh, right. That's why he would be yelling. They drive through an ogre, and by the time the rest can regain their bearings, our team is long gone with the Zhang family house crumbling in the distance. But the narrator, Frank, says, quote, he saw a large black speck, maybe a buzzard, circling up from the fire. It might have been Frank's imagination, but he thought it had flown out of the second-story window. So at first, I was wondering what this could be. Frank mutters grandmother, and then he recalls her saying that she would die on her own terms. So because she said die on her own terms, I was like, did she make a deal with, like, the underworld, and like did a fury come to like take her out to the underworld? But you have a much better thought about this.
It's the gift.
The gift.
She just didn't want to get eaten by ogres, and so she's going to be peaceful.
It's great.
It's
I love
lovely.
it. Grandma, awesome. A lot of grandma points in this chapter. Frank gives directions. Explosions follow them as they make their way through the forest. Hazel asks how fast Laestrygonians can run, and Percy, continuing to be the coolest person on earth, goes, let's not find out. They see the gate to the airfield and the private jet, the other PJ, on the runway. Narrator Frank. It is hard because I use PJ for Percy Jackson in my notes. So this, when I wrote PJ, I was like, I'm going to write this in lowercase so that I don't say that they saw the Percy Jackson on the runway. Narrator Frank says, quote, the Cadillac hit a pothole and they went airborne. Frank's head slammed into the ceiling. When the wheels touched the ground, Percy floored the brakes and they swerved to a stop just inside the gates. Frank then goes, get to the plane, they're coming. Specifically, get to the plane. This is Uncle Rick definitely making a get to the chopper semi-reference, right? Yeah. Like the wording of get to the plane felt very intentional. The ogres are closing in on them. Ella freaks out. Once she sees the plane, she does not want to fly by a means that isn't her wings. Percy then asks, okay, what are we going to do? We can't force her to get on this plane. Hazel, and I was like, whoa, she says Ella is too valuable to leave behind. I was like, Hazel. But then the next line, Hazel goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. At least she immediately apologizes for how terrible that was. And then Ella's like legitimately hyperventilating. The ogres are now within throwing distance. Percy gets an idea and asks Ella if she can hide in in the woods. She says she can. Percy tells her to do so, and he'll send a friend to meet her and take her to Camp Jupiter. And I was like, who would this be? Like, I know he may have gotten some of his memories back, but like, who is Percy sending? Is it Tyson? Is it G-Man? Like, who's going? Frank asks a friend, and Percy waves his hand in a tell you later gesture. What do we think this hand gesture is? This will work for the audience, and the podcast people will have no idea what's going on. The patrons will know because we're filming the show. But I think, like, a tell you later, I'm imagining, like, like, don't worry about it. Oh, you're going
Like
full charades.
yeah.
3 words. First word sounds like.
Do you remember playing running charades at your bachelor
Running Flip
party?
Cup charades, the greatest drinking game of all time.
It is so much fun.
It's really good. I think I've described it on one of my podcasts, and we are like rapidly running out of time, so
Excellent.
I don't think it's really quickly. It is a game where you have multiple teams, one person with a list of 10 words. You have Flip Cup, one representative from each team goes. You complete Flip Cup, they then go to the game master, they whisper the first word, then you go back to your team, you do charades, whoever guesses the charades right goes to the table, they're the next Flip Cupper, they're the next representative, you do it, once you do all 10, you win. It's the most perfect drinking game. You don't even have to play with booze, you can just play with water. It's just the best game, and at our bachelor party, we played a bunch of rounds, 2 of which, because I'm a big nerd and I like to take care of my friends, 2 of which were hydration-only rounds, where we were only allowed to drink water, and no one was too badly hungover the next night.
And now we're going to play here. So this side.
Okay, so this side, this team, this side, that team. The first word is the Tempur-Pedic Swedish sleep system.
Good luck.
That was on my list at my bachelor party. That was thing number 9.
And that was late in the evening. You know what I mean?
My brother-in-law was displeased when I told him. So, Percy waves his hand in a tell you later gesture. Percy checks with Ella that she would like this, and she says camp, and then in Latin says, wisdom's daughter walks alone, the mark of Athena burns through Rome. And I was like, whoa! I don't know which book in the series that is, but I know that that is one of the books in the series. And then I'm thinking, walks alone, are we getting like an Annabeth solo book? Because, again, I'm not going to look at anybody, but we have a 7. We've met 6 people. We need 1 more. Is the next book the Mark of Athena? And is it like Annabeth just like solo adventuring for part of it? Like, especially because the 3 and the 3 seem like they're going to get together at the end of this book. So like, are those 6 going to Greece and then Annabeth's like, la 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 la? I don't know. Anyway, Percy Jackson, now my eyes are open again and I can read my notes. So Percy, in response to this, goes, right. That sounds important, but we can talk about that later. So good. So funny.
I also love that you, in your notes, when I was watching you read this part on the train, wrote Annabeth solo book in all caps with like 1,000 question mark exclamation point.
My notes
you were
verbatim,
very excited about
my notes
this.
verbatim, which you can always see my notes on the Patreon, is whoa in all caps with 6 exclamation points. Then Annabeth's solo book, 1 question mark exclamation point, question mark exclamation point, question mark exclamation point, question mark exclamation point, exclamation point, 1 question mark exclamation point. Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, 1 exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question, exclamation mark, 1/1, question mark, 1 exclamation point, question mark, exclamation, exclamation, question mark, 1, question mark, exclamation, question mark, exclamation, question mark, exclamation.
And that is your charades clue.
Yes. You have to get all of it. Otherwise, I'll make you go back to your team. So, back to the story. Percy then tells Ella, you'll be safe at camp, you can get all the books and the food that you want. Ella decides to hide, and she does so instantly. Hazel says that she'll miss her, and I, like, up until a couple of pages prior, was like, I would not miss Ella, and now I also will miss Ella. I love her. Oh, man. Percy promises that they will see her again, but then frowns like he's upset at the later part of the prophecy. Cannonballs bust the gate. Frank gives the note to Percy and tells him to give it to the pilot, as well as the letter from Raina, and they gotta go now, so he's sending him off. Percy nods, he and Hazel run for the plane, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Frank's gonna do it. He's gonna use the power. So Frank then uses the Cadillac as cover and fires arrows, and I was like, no, use the power. He shoots a tulip-shaped arrow at the biggest clump, and to his delight, it is a Hydra arrow. I remember those. Frank hears the engines kick on in the plane. He fires off some more arrows. Hazel yells for Frank to join them. A cannonball is headed toward the plane and is certainly going to hit it, and I was like, oh, is he gonna turn? Is he gonna do it? But no, he notches an arrow, focuses, and intercepts it, and then 2 more are hurled at him, and I was like, oh, is he gonna do it? And then he runs. The car explodes behind him, and I was like, oh! But no, then he just dives into the plane as the stairs are rising. I love that he got there as the door is opening for the garage. Now he gets into the plane as the stairs are going away. So, like, this was a masterful, because I'm pretty sure we talked about this before. Like, when I finished doing the recording for the previous chapter, I was like, oh, dude, the Richmond show chapters are going to rip. Frank's going to use his gift. And you knowingly didn't give me an answer. But as you check for the trapdoor, I would have bet lots of money that Frank was going to do the thing. And Rick did a good job of stringing us along.
Masterful holster here.
So good, so good. Narrator Frank then says, quote, the pilot must have understood the situation just fine. There was no safety announcement, no pre-flight drink, and no waiting for clearance. He pushed the throttle and the plane shot down the runway. Another blast ripped through the runway behind them, but then they were in the air. So Frank looks down at the runway and it's littered with craters. Parts of Lynn Canyon Park are on fire. The mansion is in ruins and is on fire as well. And the narrator Frank says, so much for Frank being impressive. He'd failed to save his grandmother. He'd failed to use his powers. He hadn't even saved their harpy friend. When Vancouver disappeared in the clouds below, Frank buried his head in his hands and started to cry. I was like, Frank, did you not just read chapter 36 of The Son of Neptune? You were awesome. Multiple times. He's way too hard on himself. Way too hard on himself.
Now she's never gonna like me.
No way. Oh, gosh. Like, he absolutely nailed it. Did a great job. Frank, he's his own harshest critic.
When I read this the first time, I was just like so hoping, and this doesn't happen, sorry, that they get in the plane, they take off, all is well, and then he just like, boop, turns into a turtle or something. Now, come on.
Oh, that would have been so good. So then the pilot comes over the intercom and says, Senatus Populesque Romanus, my friends. Welcome aboard. Next stop, Anchorage, Alaska. I need to know who this pilot is immediately. But by the way that my job works, I have not read the next page of the book. I really, really want to know, because that's a fantastic move. That is the end of this chapter, which I have retitled Drag Off.
I'll wait till it sinks in.
He tried to be a dragon. It didn't work. Drag on, drag off.
I don't know. Frank teases us, the reader.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That is also the end of this portion of the episode. If you are listening after the fact, we will take a quick break and then get to Q&A. So let's all say goodbye to the podcast people. Goodbye! Hello and welcome to the Son of Fortune Shubio edition. I've got a lot of updates and a lot of things are coming to the Patreon, so let's get into them. First, this coming Sunday, April 6th, from noon Eastern to 2 Eastern, I will be streaming me playing the Percy Jackson Nintendo DS game. That is right, there is a Percy Jackson Nintendo DS game, and I will be streaming it to all TNO patrons. You just got to join at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. It'll be a live stream with live chat replay and everything, so if you can't watch it live, you can watch the replay of it and see what people are saying in the moment. And it's not the only stream of this game I'll be doing. I surely won't be completing this game, so I'll be doing it more than once. But yes, we're going to do our first edition of it this Sunday, April 6th, from noon to 2. If you are any tier of TNO patron, you will get access to it. And speaking of things you get access to in the streaming world for patrons, we're doing a stream of our April 13th show that's in Iowa. That show is at 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you are a patron, you get 20% off tickets. So you can get tickets to this live stream at thenewsolympian.com/live. The tickets come with a full 7-day replay, so you don't have to watch it that day or that time, or you can watch it multiple times or split it up. They come with a live chat replay as well. And then if you're a patron, you get 20% off. When you go to thenewsolympian.com/Patreon, you can check out a recent post that I made. Scroll down a little bit, that'll have the discount code. Boom, you get 20% off. So join the Patreon, watch the video game stream, get a discount on the live stream we're doing of that Midwest live show. And speaking of that live show and the Midwest shows, I have a very fun announcement, and that is Johnny Frohlichstein is joining for part of the tour. Johnny's going to be able to join for the first 3 shows. So he'll be the guest in Minneapolis. Him and Eric will both be guests in Milwaukee, and then he will be doing the TNO portion of the Iowa show, and then Eric Schneider will be doing the Potterless portion of the Iowa show, because it's a half and half show. And if you want to know exactly what we're covering, here's the quick breakdown. I'll also post this on social media. But for the St. Paul show, it's going to be Son of Neptune chapters 48 to 50. Milwaukee will be Son of Neptune chapters 51 to 52. That's the end of the book. Then that stream show that we're doing is Mark of Athena chapters 1 to 2. Then Chicago is Mark of Athena chapters 3 to 4. Columbus is Mark of Athena chapters 5 to 6. And Cleveland is Mark of Athena chapters 7 to 8. You can get tickets to all these shows at thenewsolympian.com/live. And that's also where you get tickets to our live stream that anyone can attend. You don't have to live in the Midwest. Anywhere you get get the internet, you can get that show. Now, you may have seen on social media that we've got a little competition going right now for whatever Midwest show has the most tickets sold by the end of the month, which, if you're listening to this the day it comes out, is tomorrow. Whatever city has the most tickets sold will be making a custom shirt, which has the TNO logo and then the outline of whatever state wins. And that is going to be part of the drop that we're doing with Inland Stuff, which is a local t-shirt printing company based out of Indiana. You may have seen us teasing some of those designs on social media. That will be a merch drop that anyone can order for. But then specifically this little thing, we will be selling shirts that you can get at those live shows for whichever one has the most tickets sold by the end of the month. It's become a very heated race. It's really tight between Minneapolis and Des Moines as I record this, but who knows, because my tour guy only sends me ticket updates every couple of days. So maybe the standings have changed. I'm not sure. But if you're thinking of getting tickets, get them now, because then you can help your city/state get custom shirts. Also, if you want to see the video version of this episode and get a video version of our next episode days in advance, those video versions are available for all TNO patrons at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. You can see what it was like to be at the live show. Now, I've mentioned the Patreon many times, so let me give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. Shout out to our newest God tier patron, Brendan Harrington, and shout out to our newest demigod tier patrons, Neil Thompson and Ravania. Thank you all so much for your support. May Demeter bless you that you always remember to grab various cold weather accessories before leaving in the cold. Earmuffs, gloves, scarf, you got it all. Now, if you're all caught up in the News Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume, you're in luck. I make a bunch of podcasts, and if you like this one, you'll probably like the other ones. One that I make that I've mentioned a little bit here is Potterless. Potterless is basically the precursor to the News Olympian. It's the first big major podcast I did, and it was me going through the Harry Potter books for the very first time. I never read those as a kid as well. And if you want to see my humble beginnings grow into what the TNO podcast sounds like now, check out Potterless. It's a journey in terms of me reading the books. It's a journey in terms of me going from a side hobby to a part-time job to a full-time podcast producing boy. You can listen to over 200 something episodes, and I'm probably going to be putting up a new one soon before the Midwest tour by searching for Potterless wherever you get your podcasts, or going to potterlesspodcast.com. And we cover the books and the movies and fan-made stuff, and I dunk on J.K. Rowling for being a terrible person once that became public information. It's a good time. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon, where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors to make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me, and others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Trinidad and Tobago, you might hear an ad in English, but more relevant to the interests of Trinidad and Tobago, says their official language is English. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode, and that will be the Q&A from this live show, which was super fun. All right, we got time to end the show with Q&A, so let's do Q&A. A bunch of people sent in emails. Let's try to get to as many as we can. Okay, here we go. Subject line, Richmond show, Quantico answers. Hey, Mike, welcome to Richmond. Don't get off at Quantico because it's a military base, so you can't actually go anywhere off the platform. Oh. She could have made that way more clear.
She made it sound like we would get, like, robbed and then kicked in the shins and then...
Yeah. In Richmond, we have a wonderful, efficient, and well-run local government. Heavily sarcastic. We started the year with a week of no municipal water supply. How would members of the Percy Jackson or a Harry Potter teams deal with potholes and sinkholes that haven't been replaced? File a complaint, fix it themselves, inappropriate graffiti, etc. I mean, yeah, we're talking like the Stoll brothers and the Weasley twins are for sure just like graffitiing everything and like making mockeries and like drawing silly faces on traffic cones and stuff.
I just feel like that wasn't really a question and kind of just a forum to air grievance.
I mean, we'll take it from Annalie. But yeah, I mean, I think Annabeth is going to try and like get out there and fix it herself. I feel like Percy is going to just try to ignore it. He's not going to really do much. Grover feels like the type to really try to go through and do it through the legal system, and it'll blow up in his face.
Raina's going to run for mayor.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, here's one from Liz with 2 Z's. Quantico, Quantico, Quantino.
Yes.
We have the Percy Jackson musical, but who are we going to cast in a Percy Jackson talk musical? Oh, great, yes. P.S. Also, I was really worried you were going to trip on your shoelace jumping off the stage. Was my shoe untied during that portion? Oh, I didn't realize I started the show with such high-octane energy. The money guns weren't enough. I also had the element of danger. Okay, so specifically not a musical, but talk musical. Who's going to be the best at talk singing in a Percy Jackson talk singing musical?
Well, we know who's going to play Frank's grandma.
Michelle Yeoh is going to be great. I feel like Chiron could be a good candidate for talk singing. I don't know that he
I thought we were casting the characters of the Percy Jackson. Like I would say Jeff Goldblum. Could be Chiron.
Okay, so no, okay, so Percy Jackson the musical, but they are talk singing, and we're casting people as that. Got it. Okay, best talk singers.
So Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum, he did a pretty good job with his talk singing. Yeah, like he was
Not at the singing, but the talk
singing. He was okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who are the elite talk singers of the world. I mean, the guy in the new West Side Story was pretty good as Riff. Russell Crowe.
Oh yeah, Javert.
Oh, because he was
Excellent
in.
point.
Yeah,
He was not a good singer.
I also think that just like people who just have voices that are so cool that you can be like, yeah, sure, that's singing.
Give
like
me Adam Driver as like Ares or something.
Yeah, like James Earl Jones as Kronos.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just like if your voice is cool enough, or like if you have like an accent that's cool. Like I feel like Idris Elba could be like a cool like Hades or Zeus or someone just like a powerful kind of voice.
I don't know, like Selena Gomez.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could cast like rappers. Like that would be that would work out. You could do I forget the name of the actress. I know she's like a badass, but like the woman who did Yzma from. And she's also Madame Zeroni because she kind of like sings the Madame Zeroni stuff. So like Alama, like
You just said rappers, so we need Kendrick to be Ares and call himself A minor.
And then we'll cast. We'll cast. Wait! Oh my God! We'll cast Drake as Luke because Luke had a crush on Annabeth and she was way too young. Oh my God! I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that just because I don't like Luke and I don't like Drake, but that's perfect. Wow. God damn.
Let's leave.
Yeah, I mean we got 14 minutes on the clock, but that was good. All right. Okay. There is a theme in the subject lines. This is from Abby, not Quantico, because that's 1 hour and 40 minutes away. If the 7 were different varieties of potatoes, sweet, regular, type of fry, which would they be and why? Okay. Wow. Okay, so I don't know who the 7 is, so let's establish a 7. Let's just say the 3 from The Lost Hero, the 3 from The Son of Neptune, and Annabeth. And I'm just not looking at anyone's face.
In 2nd grade, 7 years old, playing 7-Up.
There we are. So, first up, Jason. He is a russet potato. Piper feels like
Little sweet potato?
a sweet potato. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, with Aphrodite, that feels sweet potato. Leo, gotta be like, what is it when they do tater tots, but it's like poutine? Is that sexy fries, sexy tots, like nacho fries? What's the thing where it's like, the thing where it's tater tots covered in like poutine stuff? Disco fries, yeah, right?
Leo's disco fries.
Yeah, I'm Googling, sorry, this is important. Disco fries. Oh, a New Jersey diner classic. My home's, okay, so it doesn't have to just be with tater tots. He is disco fries with tater tots. Just like super funky, he feels like that'd be right up his alley. Percy Jackson. What? I mean, gosh.
The water used to grow the potatoes? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, because he's objectively great. He's a little bit silly. Is he a curly fry?
Yes.
Cool. And then Annabeth, is Annabeth a sweet potato because it's the healthiest possible fry? Like she's just like a roasted sweet potato.
Yeah, Piper's a sweet potato fry. Anna's
there it is. Piper's a sweet potato fry. Annabeth is like a oven roasted sweet potato. And then we just need Frank and Hazel. What potato is the most underground? What potato digs the deepest? That could be Hazel. But I don't know that. Yukon Gold? I do like Yukon Gold.
Sure.
Cool.
Gold in the name.
Gold. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And then Frank? Frank? What is Frank?
Is there a potato that has a very strong crush on another potato?
Yes, you're not far off. Frank gets embarrassed all the time, blushes. Frank's a red potato.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Done. Perfect. Great. Cool. Let's move on.
That was really hard.
From Clay says, if the main cast of characters had a power like Frank's and could transform into one animal, what one animal would each become? Ooh. I think Percy would turn into a hippocampus. Like he would turn into Rainbow.
Yeah.
Annabeth feels like she would turn into an owl.
For sure.
Let's see. Jason would turn into a bald eagle because he's American.
Leo's like a beaver because he's like making stuff, right?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Piper, I feel like something majestic, maybe like a peacock or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And
Did we say Hazel?
Hazel?
Horse.
A horse.
Horse girl.
Obviously. And then Frank. What's the nickname that his mom or grandma, does like mom or grandma call him, like an ox? Yeah. Cool. So he could be an ox. Great. I don't want to look into anything because I don't know what Frank's going to turn into that works. Clearly not a dragon. All right. This one's from Miranda. Hi, Mike. I'm here from Williamsburg. Took a trip from college to be here. Huge Percy Jackson fan. Even made my middle name Hazel based on the books. My question is, who would win in a no magic fist fight? Percy with Hermione's coaching or Harry with Annabeth's coaching? Oh, Hermione is good at punching. She punched Draco real good. Okay. I will say my vote is Percy, not because of the coaching. I don't think Harry Potter could punch a punching bag.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that coaching is like an extra like 2% on top of the talent of your team. And I don't think the coaches matter at all here. I think that, I think Percy is just absolutely wrecking Harry.
Yeah, Annabeth is like throwing like the towels and the bucket.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't do anything. Okay. Oh, all right. So this is from Alex. Alex says, hey, Mike, it's Alex, not Shelley. Can I tell the story of what happened to Alex? Okay, cool. So this was the perfect way to start the show. Before things are going, I was ordering food from the bar. And while I was waiting for the food, Alex says hi, and I say hi. I thought Alex asked, how's Shelley? And in my brain, a first thought was, who's Shelley? And I was like, oh, does she mean Sherry? And I was like, do you mean Sherry? And then Alex was like, no, Shelley. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know who Shelley is. And then Alex was like, no, sorry, I did mean Sherry. And I was like, oh yeah, Sherry's good. Like, we just did the Baltimore show. And then I had to leave. I tell Johnny about this in the green room because it was very funny. And then Johnny's like, I think that person asked, how's Kelly? And I was like, oh, am I the weird one? Did he ask, how's Kelly? And I completely misheard it and then made them feel strange. Oh my gosh. So then I went back after setting up the camera for the Patreon thing and I was like, I'm so sorry. Did you ask me, how's Shelly? Or did you ask me, how's Kelly? And then Alex was like, no, I asked how's Shelly. I combined Sherry and Kelly. I was really nervous. I'm so sorry. And it was so great. And then I ended the thing. They're like, what's your name? I'm Alex. I said, oh, I'm Mike, but you can call me Shelly. Have a good show. And then left. It was a beautiful interaction. And all of Alex's friends laughed at this when we talked about this. So the question from Alex, not Shelley, is, since this is a half TNO, half Potterless show, who would you rather be stuck in a room with, Octavian or Umbridge? Ooh. That's tough. I think Octavian, because though I hate him more, I feel more likely that I could overcome him, either like talk my way out of the situation, like get past him. Umbridge is like so higher up and bureaucratic that I fear that if I'm like stuck in a room with her, I couldn't get out of the situation to be a really bad time. I feel like Octavian, I could find a way out. And if we're not just talking about finding a way out, just like who would you like not want to just like have to deal with for a while? I feel like the type of anger that Octavian brings upon towards me is like less teeth grinding than Umbridge, because Umbridge is like specifically an abuse of power that I really don't like, and Octavian's just like hungry for the power. What about you?
I'm going to not answer for trapdoor purposes.
Oh, okay.
I just got a thumbs up from somebody.
All right. So, okay, this one, I agree with the subject line. So this is from Bethany. Richmond Live Show, hear me out. Ella is this book series' Dobby. She grows on you. I 1,000% agree. Hi, Mike and Johnny, loving the show. I discovered Potterless in early 2020 when I was living alone and working in healthcare. When the pandemic hit, I spent quite a lot of time alone those early months when I wasn't at work. My escape out of the house every day was putting in my earbuds and going for a 1 to 2 hour long walk, listening to your podcast. At a time when I felt quite isolated, I enjoyed getting to spend time catching up with old friends. First the Harry Potter characters, and then eventually you / your recurring guests. Oh, now my old Percy Jackson friends keep me company on my drive to a different healthcare job. Thank you for reconnecting us. You're welcome. That was a really sweet email. My question is this. In a world where the Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus characters had normal childhoods and weren't constantly running from monsters, which children's book series, elementary, middle grade, YA, do you think the particular characters would have been fans of? Thank you for being all our friends and can't wait to hang out tomorrow morning. Alrighty, so the Percy Jackson folks are just reading normal like kids books. What are they gonna like?
Jason, Harry Potter.
I guess, yeah. I was gonna say Jason Holes because he feels very much like Stanley Yelnats' vibe when he's like in the camp for bad people and like going into the deserty area and like doesn't really know what's going on, and like Stanley like doesn't really get why he's here because he like didn't actually steal the shoes and stuff.
I was just going for the mainstream vibe.
Cool,
You know?
yeah, just like the
Right down
the basic
central.
answer. I feel like Annabeth is gonna like Nancy Drew because she's
Yeah.
gonna like a competent woman who is doing good amongst the town.
These don't have to be young adult books, they said, right?
They said middle grade, any sort of like book for not adults.
Okay.
Yeah, like young-ish
Yeah.
books. Chiron is going to love Encyclopedia Brown because Encyclopedia Brown is all about like one little tiny
That they
thing that
withheld,
gives
yeah.
it away, like that tiny little information piece that's the key. Hazel, Leo, Frank. What kind of kids' books are they going to like? Oh, Animorphs for Frank. That's very good. That's very good. That's very, very, very good.
I feel like Leo's kind of a Captain Underpants guy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, this one is from Griffin.
Dave Pilkey, still cooking, by the way. If you ever walk into the kids section of a bookstore, there is his art plastered everywhere on books.
The Captain Underpants author?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's also doing the like Dog Man movie
Exactly.
or whatever that a lot of people keep sending me because the poster is half dog, half man, all hero. I get sent that at least like once a day on Instagram, and it's great every single time. Okay, this one is from Griffin. Getting off at Quantico. More like Quantino. How could I not? Hi, Mike. Hope you don't get trapped and questioned by the FBI on your trip back up in Quantico. My question. So you have the very distinct Camp Regular Person shirts to avoid any trouble by the House of Mouse. What would you change Senatus Populesque Romanus, SPQR, or Camp Jupiter to put on a purple shirt to remain legally distinct merch? Rock on, Griffin. Ah, okay, because I do know what the purple shirts look like. It's got like the SPQR and it says Camp Jupiter on it. So if I'm making a Camp Regular Person version of that, so like when they're in the mortal world, what does it say? Oh, interesting. So it has to be both. So instead of Camp Jupiter, it would just have to be like some other similar thing, but like can't be too wild. Oh, maybe it's like judo camp and there's like a karate guy or a judo guy instead, because that's like close enough. And then instead of like SPQR, it would have a 4-letter thing.
ACDC. I don't know. It's a 4-letter
Why?
acronym.
Sure. Yeah, I need a 4-letter acronym like, no. It's, instead of Camp Jupiter, it says Camp Jesus, and it's WWJD. And it's like a fake,
Perfect.
Like vacation Bible school religious camp. Yeah. Nice. I don't think I'll be selling that merch, but I do like the
Coward.
idea. Ooh, a fun fact from Miranda. Virginia state mammal is the Virginia big-eared bat.
Mammal, not animal?
It's sensitive about those ears. How dare you, Virginia? If the HOO characters were internet personalities, what would be their niche? I.e., Annabeth may run a fun fact and informational YouTube channel. Okay, so they're internet micro-celebrities. What are they doing?
So Leo's definitely like renovating. You know those like renovating influencers who are like doing their own garages? Yeah, that's Leo.
Percy is someone who does like reels and TikToks of him doing like cool skimboarding tricks on the beach, like a water thing, but like a niche water thing. Jason is just like, what's the most American thing to do?
Grilling.
Grill. I was gonna say grilling. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Jason is grilling.
Annabeth is on book talk.
Piper's get ready with me routines.
And Annabeth's book talk, right?
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. Cool. No, I feel like we nailed that. Okay. This is from Andrew. Says, TNO Richmond Show, not an engineering podcast. Hi, Mike and Johnny. Glad you can make it down to Richmond for Mike. So I'm a mechanical engineer, and you often talk about your engineering career. What was your favorite part about being an engineer? And what skills did you learn that help you for the podcast?
This is
So my editing software utilizes multivariable calculus. Let's see. Favorite part of being an engineer? I was fortunate enough that my specific job allowed me to travel a lot. Specifically, I joined a company that had like a lot of different locations. I specifically joined a rotational program, so I would travel a lot. I got to go to France, and that was super cool. And then funnily enough, the thing that actually helped the most is that when I was at the French headquarters, I was making instructional videos because the company had just switched over to Google Suite for everything. So I had to like teach grumpy old engineers how to use Google, and I filmed videos. And they gave me like free access to Final Cut Pro, which at that time I'd only used iMovie in my like YouTube career. And there's enough crossover in the like Final Cut Pro stuff that I did with the audio editing software that I used, GarageBand, and then eventually Logic Pro X. So weirdly, the most that I learned from my engineering career was when I was the only person in the rotational program who knew how to make videos, so I got the video gig in the France office. So that's actually how it all went. Now, for both of us, the real question. Johnny has no problem pulling off a hat. Mike, with your hair flip, it's got to be a rare accessory. What occasions do you guys wear hats? when I don't want to do my hair. Like, that's it. And I will also say, in addition to like having the hair thing, my ears, I don't know if this is normal, my ears like join kind of high up. So when I wear a hat normally, my ears like point out like this. So I often either wear a hat like as a backwards hat, because this doesn't happen, or I'll kind of like wear it on like the back of my head, like more loose-ish, so that it doesn't poke my ear out, so that I look like a cartoon character.
Most occasions, because I also wear hats when I don't feel like doing my hair, but I never feel like doing my hair. So I wear a hat like when I'm working on Zoom calls or whatever, like all the time.
Beautiful. Okay, we'll end with this one because this is from Vic and Jordan at the merch table. Vic, shout out to Vic, who has gone to, I think, almost every single show I've done on the East Coast this year. I don't know if other people are like taking the train and going to all these shows like I am, but huge dedication. So we'll end the show with this. From your friends at the merch table: Quantico, Alaska State Bird, and Pericleminus. 1. Quantico is famously the FBI training academy TV show.
Don't get off there.
And largest Marine Corps base. 2, fun fact, the unofficial state bird of Alaska is the mosquito. What?
Yeah.
3, they keep referring to Frank as a descendant of Poseidon because Pericleminus was an Argonaut, Jason and the Argonauts, which is a story from ancient Greece, not Roman times. Ah, okay, cool. Now the question, if our Heroes of Olympus friends purchased an item from the merch table, what would they pick? This feels self-indulgent. I'll do one more question so that it doesn't feel like I'm doing cool promo of myself. But if people are going to buy stuff, I mean, I think Percy would buy the Riptide pen because it says my other pen is Riptide. Yeah. So that feels really on brand.
They'd all buy all of it.
Yeah, no. Any other things?
Who's buying a pin?
A pin. Hazel feels like she could like the pins.
Oh, 'cause of the metal.
All the Camp Jupiter people would buy the beads because they don't do beads at Camp Jupiter. Yeah. Pretty good. Okay, we'll try to do one more. Okay, cool. Virginia TNO live shows are for lovers. Hi, with all of the exclamation points and ones and slashes and stuff that I did. I'm here with my fiance and we get married next month. Congratulations. And we need to finalize our DJ list. So if we invited our new friends, Hazel, Frank, Ella, Piper, Leo, Jason, etc., to the wedding, what song would get them on the dance floor? Also, just a huge thank you for being my commute entertainment during grad school and now my drive to work. I'm a middle school counselor. Very cool. Okay, so what's everyone's like go-to dance going to be? And then we can end it with like our go-to dance that I think is good. Jason is Born in the USA. I'm proud to be an American. The Star Spangled Banner. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. Ella. Oh, Ella would just like something from Twista or Busta Rhymes. Just like words.
Crazy pace.
Frank, Roar by Katy Perry.
Oh, good. Very good.
Feed the Beast by Kim Petras.
Isn't there a Neon Tree song called Animal?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's see. Hazel. She would be really into like underground punk music. Come on, that was Piper?
No, wait, Zombie by the Cranberries also for Hazel.
That's pretty good. That's great. Oh, I think we said this in a similar thing of like a favorite song. We said Leo would like Lowrider as his. Yeah. Okay, but then to bring it all home, specifically, what song when you're playing at a wedding or something is just like, oh my God, I must get out on the dance floor?
So this is recent. I've only been to one wedding since this person was introduced to the world. But when I was at my friend's wedding in October and Hot to Go came on, it was bedlam.
Yeah.
Bedlam. It was so much fun. So that's my new one.
There's a lot that can really get me out there, but I think at least the one that has like the most build up to it is if Juvenile's Back That Ass Up plays, because you do have like, depending on which cut they're doing, you do have like 15 seconds to like find your friends at the wedding and be like, guys, they're playing Back That Ass Up by Juvenile. Come on. So that you can eventually get to the like boom, 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 and then get down like when the drop happens. So that would be my big final moment there. And that gets me out on the dance floor. And that is the show. Thank you all so much for coming out to the show. Really do appreciate it. Give it up to Johnny for being an incredible guest. Give it up to Vic and Jordan for running the merch table and helping out. And give it up to everyone here at the Canal Club. Just like super smooth operation from sound to getting things set up to like the logistics to the food and everything. The Trudeau does super well. Give it up to everyone at the Canal Club for making that happen. Johnny's going backstage because did anyone like travel from really far away to come to the show? Who thinks they traveled from the farthest to make it to the show? Anyone? DC? North Carolina? Carolina? Anyone farther than North Carolina? Okay, who came from North Carolina? You came. Okay, there's multiple North Carolina people. Come up to the stage after the show. We've got some stuff that we'll give out as like thank yous for coming to the show from far away. So thank you so much. But yes, give yourselves a round of applause for making it out to the show. This wouldn't happen without all of you. I really do appreciate it. This was a blast. This was so fun. You sold out the smaller version. We had to upgrade. Super cool stuff. So this was great. But until I find my way back to Richmond, Virginia, and not, I keep forgetting the name of this place, and not Quantico. Until then,
Thanks so much for coming out, everybody!
Hello! Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamanes and Brandon Grugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you really enjoy the show and you just can't get enough, there's a couple of different things that you can do. First, you can go to patreon.com/thenewestolympian, and you can get access to all sorts of bonus content that I post on a very regular basis. You also can find us and get involved in the community on social media. We've got an Instagram, we've got a Blue Sky, we've got a Twitter, we've got a Facebook, we've got a subreddit, we've got a Discord that's available to all patrons. If you want to support the show, you can get merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. You can see live shows at thenewsolympian.com/live, and you can check out the aforementioned Patreon. And speaking of, I want to give a shout out to our highest tier, the Ultra God tier patrons who are helping to produce this show with their financial support. So shout out to Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Abby Ryan, Marco Redhouse, Sam Reeby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Persasabeth, Aiden Parziani, Grace, Ginger Spurs Boy, A Cup of Solace, Bradamus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Natanya Page, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jackson, Han Haley Hingelheimer Schmidt, Catherine Sloan, Haley Mary, Jim Jam Koopy, Kit Kat Crumbs, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nico's Black Vespa, and Zayden Wintergate. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, just spreading the show via word of mouth is huge. You can tell someone directly who you think would like the show. You could post about it on social media. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using. All of these things really do help, and I really appreciate anyone who has done it in the past or will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tune into our next episode where we'll be joined by Kelly Schubert to break down chapters 37 through 39 of The Son of Neptune, live from Houston. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, it's going to me ASMR Mike. So as one of the patron rewards that I do, if you get a pin, so if you're a Mega God patron or an Ultra God tier patron, you'll get a pin, and I also include a signed handwritten postcard. And I have one here because I've been writing some patron notes. We've been mailing out a bunch of packages the past couple days, and I'm just going to kind of, wobble it around, run it against the microphone, all that kind of stuff. Here's me wobbling. Here's me kind of tapping it on the mic. And here's me rubbing it on the mic windsock. They're very good postcards, and they're handwritten, and my handwriting is really bad. You can laugh at me, but thank you so much for listening.